evening. This is Dr. Evil Genius here, representing the Talking Shit Podcast, episode 14. You see the title of tonight's show: Reject the Valid Excuse. Now, tonight's episode, by virtue of it even going on, which is actually now after midnight, Kevin Samuels, he just went offline. The fact that this show is still going on, when you're looking at me, Dr. Evil Genius, solo after midnight. Why am I even here? Why am I doing episode 14 to make sure that I get it in on something that resembles a Wednesday? Because I know that that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail. One of the two of us or both of us, because we are committed to the craft. We are committed to bringing you worthwhile content. So I had a client that I forgot about at 8 p.m. Ended after talking to him, and just kind of like around 9:30. But I had work that needed to get done. I had lifts that needed to get in. So I had a choice. Do I cut the lift short and start the show a little bit earlier? Or do I get this motherfucking work in? And then worry about the logistics of the show later, knowing that no matter what happens, both the lifts and the show get done tonight. Now, I had to take one of my partners for the second Rona shot. She's not feeling very well. I had a few clients today. It was, very, very warm. The hotter air tends to take away my appetite, makes it very difficult to eat. And of course, when you don't eat, you can't really lift, right? I had some valid excuses. All set. It was right there for me. The work didn't get done today because, or the show, maybe I could do the show tomorrow morning. I had that thought pop up into my head. But I said, no. This is too much of a valuable lesson for the listener. Work needed to get done. So, here I am sitting here after midnight. I have not had my post-lift meal. I'm straight out of the shower. And I'm here at nearly 12:30 in the morning Eastern, because I believe in the message that I'm about to bring to you tonight. Again, the theme: reject the valid excuse. Now, we understand that not all excuses are created equally. We understand that. We know that, some people may say, hey, I don't want to get up in the morning. Or some people may say, well, I was working until 5 o'clock in the morning. But what does the valid excuse actually buy you? It buys you the opportunity to enjoy success later, if at all. So, what was the inspiration for tonight's broadcast? I'm going to tell you guys some stories about some valid excuses, some invalid excuses probably, and how we frame the things that we go through in life. How we frame them will determine our overall trajectory. So, there's two reasons why I'm wearing my Deadpool tank today, right? There's two reasons. Number one, there was a day where I put this tank top on And I was coming off of an extended depression where I made a lot of excuses for myself. So I didn't lift for something close to 2 months at this point. It wasn't even really like my worst depressive episode. But I wasn't eating, I wasn't lifting, I wasn't doing any of the things I knew that I should be doing. When I returned to the gym, and mind you, I'm 6'3", okay? When I returned to the gym, I returned to the gym at 168 pounds. And, if you're paying attention, you kind of know that's probably not a good weight to be at for somebody my height. So, what did I do? Well, that first time that I went back to the gym, I went there in my Air Jordan Retro 14s, the breads, rocking the Deadpool, and somebody had a bar on the floor. It had 4 plates on it. You weightlifters out there, you know what 4 plates mean. That's 405 pounds. You see, when I went back to the gym that day, I wasn't really much feeling like getting involved with excuses. I had never picked up 400 pounds in my life. And here I am, having not lifted for a long time. And I looked at that bar and I said, you know what? I have a valid excuse not to pick up that bar, because the most I ever moved, I think at that point, was like, I want to say 365, 385, somewhere in that range. So what did I do? I said, well, I looked for the reasons why I should make that lift. So what I did was I said, well, conventional wisdom says if you haven't lifted for a while, maxing out is probably not the safest thing to do. So from a professional point of view, we'll just say that, that's probably not the thing to do. But then, because I wanted to get the work done, I said, well, 6 weeks allowed me all the time in the world to recover from all the lifts that I did previously. So what did I do? I stepped up to the bar and I moved that weight. First time in my life I had ever moved over 400 pounds on a deadlift. And I fought for it too. And I would have had a great excuse to not hit that lift. I would have had a really good excuse. But I just wasn't quite feeling like excuses at the time. So for you guys doing the math, a 405 lift at 168 pound body weight, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's about 2.5 times body weight. And anybody that knows, especially for somebody my height that has a lot of the disadvantages that comes with not having physics on my side because of the length of my limbs. You see, I had a lot of excuses not to make that lift. But I wasn't really quite feeling like excuses that day. And I reached a milestone that I had been wanting to reach for a long time before then. Sometime, like I think I have a picture of me on one or more of the dating apps that I'm on. And on a regular basis, women like that photo. I wasn't doing it for the women, but you see what happens when you're just not feeling like excuses. There are ramifications beyond whatever it is at the moment. So, another example of what inspired this video, I guess why I felt like wearing this tank top for tonight's show. If you watch the first Deadpool film, there is a phrase that Deadpool utters several times throughout the film. Maximum effort. It did not matter what the situation was. It didn't matter if he had all of his body parts. It didn't matter if what he was doing was kind of type dangerous. Hey, if I just put in a little bit more effort, no matter what the situation is, I might be able to overcome. Now, again, it's a fictional, it's fiction, it's fantasy. You're dealing with superheroes and all that, right? I get that. But the principle still works. Maximum effort. I had a talking to with a client that I hold in very high regard, and if that person ends up watching this, because I'm going to send you the link, I had to have a conversation with this particular client that gave me no pleasure in having, and it was basically me taking him to task for finding every excuse in the world to be complacent and to be happy with the position that they found themselves in, which is admittedly not that bad of a position. But, that person only pays me, ever so many dollars per hour. But I spent over 3 hours because it was necessary. It was work that needed to be done, and it was work on my personal time. But it needed to happen because that person needed that kind of boost. But you know what it cost me? It cost me my workout for that evening. So what did I do? Well, I was tired. I was hurt because I had to deliver a message that it never feels good to deliver. But you know what I did? After midnight, I was in my living room, breathing hard, moving the weights. I did it anyway. I had a valid excuse to not get my workout in. Hey, I needed to coach this guy. This guy really needed my help. It's after midnight. I need to get my beauty sleep because, you see Dr. Evil, right? Nah. I said, you know what? I put the onus on myself. I said, you know what? I did not manage my time properly. And this is the penalty. I'm up getting these gains. It's necessary. There's another person that I spoke to. This person is my own mother. My mother checked out of life over 15 years ago. That doesn't give me any pride to reveal to the world. But she checked out. She didn't handle her responsibilities. She didn't take care of her kids in the motherly role that's necessary when you have adult children. Yes, even after your children turn 18 and they leave the home, you still have a duty towards your children, both men and women. But I made a call. I made a call that cost me the start of an important episode of the Talking Shit podcast. But it was necessary. You know why? Because the theme of that conversation was, it doesn't matter if your excuses are valid or not. Things needed to get done. They didn't get done. Things that didn't need to happen, they still happened. How you doing, George? Okay. The theme, and we're going to go through this again, the theme of tonight's episode, reject a valid excuse. We all know that the BS excuses, nobody wants to really hear them. Although, people still give them anyway. But, we are going to reject the non-valid and the valid excuses. Why should we reject the valid excuse? 2 reasons. Number 1, when the things that need to get done don't get done, the penalties are still the same whether or not your excuse was valid or not. That's number 1. So in the story that I'm telling about dealing with my mother, hello, Xenon. It's nice to see you again. I took out valuable time to impress upon her what the penalties were when she did not do what she was supposed to do as a mother and what it cost me. Did she have valid excuses? Well, technically, yes. Yes, she did. But the damage was still done. Parts of my life were still ruined, regardless of what her excuses were. Valid or not. That's number 1. Number 2, when you accept valid excuses, you are giving yourself the permission to not seek solutions. The way that you look at the world is framed by what you allow and what you don't. We all have maladies. We all have obstacles. But how we choose to frame those obstacles will be the determining factor in your trajectory as a human being, as a man, as a woman, what have you. No matter where you are, what you're doing, what your orientation is. The way that you look at the situations in your life will determine how much success you have. Not the luck, maybe not even the education, but your willingness to do the hard work and understand that even the valid excuses can and should be ignored. Do you know what it cost me that day to curse my mother out for over 3 hours to get her to take accountability? You know what it cost me? It cost me, the timing of my workout, being with my family, managing my time so that that TSP goes on when I schedule it. But was it worth it? Because the show got done late. The workout got done very late. I think I was up 3 o'clock in the morning lifting the weights. Shout out to Captain Paul. I'm happy to know that he's alive. But it cost me sleep. It cost me a quality workout. It cost me the timing of the episode. But what did I stand to gain? I didn't sacrifice really any of that stuff. I just sacrificed a little bit of sleep, which is probably not a good thing. But I did what needed to be done. I had an excuse not to use my time. I had an excuse to not put energy into my mother because of what she did to me and what she cost me. And the penalties that I still pay at damn near 40 years old. Penalties that need to be paid. I'm still paying them from what she didn't do, regardless of whether she had valid excuses or not. But you know what I did? I put that energy into her anyway, but I did it with a caveat. I said to my own mother, I will do anything I can to help you regain your life, but you will not waste my fucking time. If I call you up next week and I don't hear a whiff of self-accountability, I don't hear a whiff of self-awareness, I'm going to tell you I love you, and I'm going to hang up the phone. Because I don't have the time to waste. I have a lot of work to do. I have a community to build. I have men that need to be built up and to rejoin society, to become productive, or as, let me get into my Kevin Samuels bag, productive, competitive, successful. I'm a man on a mission, and I don't have time for people and their excuses. I don't have time. I got shit to do. Thank you very much. And you know what happened? When I called up the next week, I heard that somebody did some introspection. That person, my own mother, is now on her way to regaining her life. Because once she understood that self-accountability still applies, whether your excuses are valid or not, it gives you power. It gives you control. Because that's all that people really want in this world. Everybody's looking for control, but where to get it? Well, I'm going to try to control someone else. I'm going to try to control and police people's speech. Everybody's trying to grab control of something. How about grabbing control of yourself? How about grabbing the reins and directing yourself? And controlling your own narrative, controlling where you're going to go in life. How about that? Everybody that I'm talking to, I had an old friend. One of the best friends I've ever had. This coming September will be 20 years that we've been friends. And where did the conversation go? Are you going to accept these excuses from yourself? Because the minute that you decide that even the valid excuses aren't good enough, the world opens up to you. Because everything that stands in your way, it's not insurmountable anymore. The only things that you see are obstacles to overcome or opportunities. And the obstacles, they serve a purpose. They prove to you what you are made of. I've been lifting with a pretty severe impingement in my shoulder that is probably running from my bicep. I lift with the injury anyway. How about that? Now, I would have a valid excuse. I would have a valid excuse not to get my lifts in. But you know what ends up happening? You know what ends up happening, though? I found a way to lift with the injury. An intelligent, smart, safe way to lift with the injury. I could have just said, wow, I'll just wait until my shoulder feels better. But who knows when that's going to happen? I got work to do, people. How can I sell you guys on being the best version of yourself as a personal trainer if I come to you guys deflated and skinny telling you guys, well, this is how it gets done without showing you? No, I have to find a way. So what the fuck do? I find a way. I told you guys, episode 5, TSP. I am willing to do the work. I could have been at a very special friend's house on Saturday. But no, I was here in front of the camera for the Filthy Casual MMA watch party. The work needs to get done. I had a valid excuse. That ass is a valid excuse. But I didn't accept it. I needed to do the work. I told you guys, if there's not a wife beater or an overt racist on the card, we are doing the watch party. I don't care if no one shows up for the watch party. I don't care if it's just me and Mrs. Evil doing the watch party by ourselves. I've committed to this schedule. So the work needs to get done. And you know what ends up happening? A new person trickles in. Hey, what's going on over here? So you know what that afforded me? Oh, man. You know, I lifted with the injury. I found an intelligent way. I'm getting stronger. In fact, in some weird way, I'm actually fixing the problem with the shoulder the more and the heavier I lift. How about that? Now, I would have been well within my rights to not do the work. I just did not feel like accepting the valid excuse. And you know what ends up happening? That ends up happening. You see, I would not have the physique that I have today at age 38 if I would have taken the valid excuse. I went out today, like I told you guys at the outset, hey, you know, one of my partners had to get that second Rona shot. We went to the drugstore, and this cute little thing, you know, she could have sat anywhere because, you know, we're supposed to be social distancing. She could have sat anywhere in the drugstore. She had to sit across from me, trying to make eye contact, twirling her hair. I mean, as a man, choosing signals? Hello. Do you think that happens? If I would have taken the valid excuse? Now, obviously, you know, we're not everything that we do, not everything that we're trying to achieve with our eyes towards trying to impress women. But the point is that the blessings that come your way when you dedicate yourself to doing the work, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to notice. That could have been another YouTuber with a much larger audience than myself that says, yo, that guy did the work. You know, maybe I should talk to him about some fitness tips or something. Oh, you've got a podcast? Oh yeah, well, I've got to, you see how this works? You don't know what road you're going to take, but if your trajectory is going here, you are going to find that other people on the way, they're the people that are not accepting the valid excuses, you're going to end up meeting those people. You're going to end up in situations that you can take advantage of to grow your network. As you are trying to raise your value and you've got other people that you are on the road with, yo, changes the game. It changes the game. Now I'm in a situation where people are interested in working with me and putting money in my pocket. Do you think that it would have worked if I would have taken the valid excuse? That's what I want you guys to think about. What are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice your acceptance of your own valid excuses? And again, we're not talking about the BS excuses. We're not even talking about, we're talking about the ones that are reasonable. What does it do to your psyche when you reject the valid excuse and you look and you find a way to get done what you know needs to get done? As men, and I'm talking to you, men, as men, we have a duty to society to keep society moving. Imagine if the bridge builders had a valid excuse to not show up to work, and then the bridge falls into the river and a whole bunch of cars with it. It's still the same tragedy, is it not? This is a beautiful. I love this. I love this because this actually takes the message to another level. A true test of character is how much of an asshole you are to someone when you have the right to be. See, you would have a valid excuse to treat somebody as less than in certain situations. When I call customer service representatives of any kind, I know that if I have to fucking call you, we've got a problem. And since I have a habit of paying my bills, if I have to call you, it's on you. So you know what I do? Before I give them my actual information, I let them know, sir, ma'am, you are dealing with an irate client, with an irate customer, an irate caller. I do not blame you personally for what's happening, but I'm pissed off. It's the first thing I say. And that does two things. One, it puts them on alert. Two, it actually slows down my own anger because it reminds me that the person I'm talking to is not responsible for the problem. In fact, they are paid to fix the problem. So why antagonize the person that's there to help you? That doesn't make any sense. That would be letting your irrational brain take over and stay in control. But when things aren't going right, you have a valid excuse to be angry, right? But if you're not accepting the valid excuse, you're going to talk to them like a human being. And then you know what happens when you talk to customer service representatives like a human being and you recognize and you value them for the job that they do? They tend to be more helpful. Yeah. That's what tends to happen. So excellent comment. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Xenon, for bringing that up today. You know, I had a guy. I have this guy that constantly messages me on Discord, right? And I could tell that the guy really wants to be a better version of himself. But he's got this physical malady and that physical malady. And I say the same thing to him every time. Keep working. Overcome. Find ways to overcome your issues. Because at the end of the day, and I'm getting back into my Kevin Samuels bag, the world does not owe you or me understanding. And quite frankly, I don't have all day to be with you on Discord. No disrespect. Just what it is. But what I'm setting the stage for this burgeoning friend of mine is that you may have valid excuses why. But it makes you more powerful if you don't even accept your own excuses. And I'm going to leave you guys with this. And this is one of the, man, it warms my soul. When you stop accepting your own valid excuses, you don't take anybody else's excuses anymore. You start holding everybody else accountable. And then what ends up happening is you have people in your lives that will have a choice to make. Either they're going to elevate their minds with you or they're going to fall by the wayside. I told my own mother, the next time I call you, I better hear some self-accountability. I better hear some self-awareness. I better hear that you did some introspection over this weekend. But if I call you on Monday and I hear that you have not even made an attempt to elevate yourself, you will hear from me once a month for me to tell you that I love you and that I'm going to hang up the phone. I don't have the time anymore for anyone's excuses, not even my own. And if I'm not going to take it from me, now everybody in my circle has to elevate their game. I'm not accepting it from anybody else. And then when the fucking smoke clears, the only people that are left are the people who are trying to elevate themselves. And when you got a group of people, everybody's trying to elevate themselves and elevate everybody around them. Now you've created a network of people who are either high value or on their way to becoming high value. You get rid of the riffraff. And if that means that that person ends up cleaning up their life, that person that you dropped, and that was the catalyst for them to stop accepting both their BS and their valid excuses, then you ended up helping to elevate someone else. You see, we hear about side effects all the time, right? Usually in a negative connotation. But imagine the side effect is you took somebody who was complacent and you made them less complacent and now their life is better. Imagine. You see, we hear all the time, misery loves company. But true joy and true value in life, that loves company too. we're probably going to end on this tonight. When you start accepting valid excuses, you're doing the 12-step program and blame everything on God before you know it. I mean, there is a man named Derek Jackson. And then on that note, I'm going to say goodnight. I love you all. I'll see you for episode 15. Peace.